All right, what's up, yins, guys? I was gonna make this video already, and I got off the track and went on about something that should be for another video, so I'm doing it over. But anyway, this thing about Zionism is here's my position on it, because some of yins guys, when I make videos on this, that they're talking about, you talk about the Zionists, and my take on that is, yeah, I do not at all, not at all. It's not about Jews, you know what I mean? And I don't blame no Jews for any kind of all the shit going on in the world. There's all kind of shit going on in the countries. My thing is when I use that rhetoric at all, and I would rather not without an explaining myself, the counterfeit Zionism, these people that aren't even Jews are using now, you know what I mean, too, that that people want to tell you what to do, like these different. I mean, you got friends among there to support it too, and I got friends that are involved. One of the things that I get involved in, that you got some Christians that are okay, but then the television Christianity is basically in high level fancy cars and airplanes, a counterfeit Zionism, exploiting Jews for their own gain. And the thing is there's a lot of Jewish stuff, and then music and that I have a music collection of a lot of different shit that even reflects some of the things that I do in some of my videos that I'd explain later that I borrow from some that these so-called YouTube Christians and YouTube Zionists hate, like that's demonic. Oh, and blah blah blah. Shame you from even wanting to have flexibility to tie your shoes. A yoga satanic. You got those in YouTube. I want money. They're just fake Zionists and all that. But my thing on that, I like some Jewish stuff and some things that no problem with whatsoever. You know what I mean? And I don't care for like the shit that I saw on the news where you got these person, okay, that we just made the news, went in a synagogue and shot up a bunch of people in Pittsburgh, and then he was on this other social network site. Screw your logistics or whatever, screw your optics, I'm going in. And this guy saying that, I'm going in, goes and shoots a bunch of unarmed people in the synagogue saying, screw your optics, I'm going in, as if he was going into some heavily armed compound of. Why do you get these fucking cowards that are just shooting on all these unarmed people, and they got in their head that, and then you get this other guy you hear about on the news now that's glorifying the shooter like it's like something heroic. I mean, you got to be a really sick fuck to actually glorify somebody that shot a bunch of people unarmed. What about, that's just as bad as somebody going to a Batman movie and shooting a bunch of theater goers. Having your head like you're, go some damn where in an alley in some of these cities where even if you have a gun, that you're not guaranteed to live the minute you pull it out. But didn't set out in this video to make a video about shooters either. But I'm saying that. But if you got this far in this video, here I am. I don't have no problem whatsoever. Like I do not at all. Not into these views these other people have. That's kind of sick ass shit, definitely denounce that. What I really don't care for, though, no intention of, I don't want to bash anybody's culture or race or religion or anything. I talk about my own when I say this. What I don't care for is in Christianity or anything like, I like some Jewish stuff in the music and some of their things. I even Leonard Nimoy on the radio one time with his thing on the Rosh Hashanah thing. And shit, when I was reading all my other kind of things that I used to read in books before I had the internet, I learned I could identify the whole Hebrew alphabet from the Key of Solomon, and there's these symbols in Latin, which I'll go through. My ideas later on were the Aleister Crowley thing in his version of the Key of Solomon, why I'm against it. But anyway, what I don't care for and what make Christians mad, even there's some of the nice ones that might be on TV and then these other ones. What I'm actually against, and say if I was in any kind of a church or whatever for one reason, visiting, or even anybody else praying or whatever, I'm not like, say, the football player like over race that's going to take a knee. I'm one of them people that I don't want to take a knee per se, but I believe in almost like a thing I had on Facebook about cats that somebody had with yoga. Instead of downward dog, I like the upward turn nose. In my thing, I'm doing this. I want to take a knee or an upward turn nose to my least favorite things that I hated. I don't have to support. I believe in Jesus Christ for what he, what he's calling people on the sacrificial animals industry for profit, why he chased out the money changers. But I'm not against Jews. I don't hate them. And then if people want to believe that the Jews that believe in Jesus, or if they don't, they'd rather stay where they're at. But the thing that I don't care for, that I do not have to give a damn about, whether anybody's Jew or Christian or anybody, is that this thing that people flaunt on there in the podium, I turn up my nose to about Abraham hears a disembodied voice saying that, go and sacrifice your son, which it was never to be a ram in the place. I used to listen to a rock and roll station in WDV when I was working in a factory years ago. So they put a clip of different comedians, and there was the one comedian, I don't remember his name, said, yeah, his position on God, I guess he was an attack on a certain kind of belief in God, says, oh, you kill your kid, I'll be your friend. I actually believe, I'm not an atheist or anything, and I'm not a religious fanatic, but I believe and reserve the right to actually turn my nose up. And the idea of, simply because in this day and age, like you see on the news, you hear a disembodied voice that says to kill your kid, like a woman that drowned her kid and says she heard a voice and she was sent him to heaven or whatever. You go to jail for that now, but yet you got highly paid, in highly funded religions that a lot of them are good people. I'm fucking tired of hearing that, and they're flaunting it on there, that was the right thing to do, even though the son wasn't killed. Well, you get somebody that hears a voice like that in this day and age, whether you go through it or you go to fucking jail, or you better rebuke something or whatever in the name of God or whatever, because and the idea that anything that's somebody wants to be a conservative and say you're fucking pro-life, but yet you advocate and you're actually pushing this shit. I mean, this is not to somebody that you want to believe in Jesus Christ or any religion, whether you're Jewish. If you're a person that's conscientious objector to things that I consciously eventually object, you want to separate yourself from all the, the drug use that's turned into dogma and mandatory, and being told that you have to, all this other list of shit that people can do what they want, but I don't have to give a shit about. But yeah, and then the idea was, even though Christians that say, oh, Jesus Christ took over. I'm a firm believer that I don't evangelize. This is not evangelizing, but I'm a firm believer that I try to tell people my take on Jesus Christ. It's not at all about, be a Christian, you hate Jews, or there's a thing about the Pharisees. My firm belief, not to evangelize, is that I'm a firm believer that Jesus Christ was crucified not just for what you say in the Bible, which a lot of that is true. He shut down when he chased out the money chamber. They wanted him dead because he was on the verge of shutting down the animal sacrifice industry. People had to bring in doves, whether you own livestock or not. You had to buy a dove, and then if you had an animal sacrifice, what would do is they say, well, this is, disqualified because we found a blemish. And anybody that brought one of their own, right, it was flawed. And, okay, disqualified. But however, you can buy one of. You want to obey the commandment of God, we can still grace you with the ability to obey the commandment of God. You buy one of ours. And then it doesn't exactly specify in the Bible, but you know fucking well that not only did they have you buy one of ours, we'll gladly take this animal off your hands. And what the fuck you think they were probably doing? That same animal that was disqualified, and they weren't just letting them keep our animal. They were probably saying, "Let me take it off your hands," fucking selling it. But then the cool thing is, I'm not evangelizing, so atheists, calm down. There's this thing where one of my favorite parts of Christianity, okay, is that people had to sacrifice the dove, right? But then when Christianity came about, the dove became a symbol, rightly so. Matter of fact, in the Noah and the Ark days, the dove brought back the olive leaf, what I mean? But I know that. Even an asshole like a foul-mouthed asshole like me knows that. But yeah, you had these people. It was an industry. And then right after the crucifixion was all up, and when you were starting to get the pre-medieval times and medieval times, Rome fell, and then you started getting, later on, society getting set up after Christ was gone, and people that were not just these, not just like Christ followers, other generation of Christ followers going into other countries and being Christians. During that whole era when Jesus Christ was around, okay, and alive, you had the other countries right next to them that were sacrificing animals, right? Then after Jesus Christ was gone, right? I rant about this to my girlfriend. That's why I'm fucking making this video. I mean, it's like they were all sacrificing animals too. And even after Jesus Christ was gone, that shit was going on, right? So Christians were being killed and persecuted and all that in all these other countries because the Christians became a threat to the animal sacrifice industry, which made more fucking money selling the animal sacrifices than the meat packing industry did. You know how you buy an ant? They were, back in them day, they're selling animals that, you for food. Them fuckers were making more money selling those for that than it is selling the food. Now, in this day and age, we don't got that shit. Nobody does that shit anymore. You just have the meat packing industry, cows and every kind of animal, pigs, lamb, everything hanging on there. Meat saws, bzz, bzz, bzz. And then when you eat pork chops, you get these from the quick saw, and you got these sharp bones that are little, or even chicken and everything else. You got to watch for tiny ass bones that are a product of the meat saws of the time now. Bzz, bzz, bzz. And you can get a small bone shard and you swallow it and cut a hole in your fucking, And that fucking police, okay, anyway, that fucking siren. Jeez, how, you hear that siren in the background? How the fuck long does it take for a fucking siren to go by? You know what I mean? But anyway, I hope it's an ambulance. I hope nobody's dead. You know what I mean? But, and you guys hear that since I labeled this as a gang stalking video? Somebody somewhere, it could be on. You guys can judge if it's all of a sudden this noise is just on purpose, But anyway, that there was a big industry involved, but you don't have that on anymore. But yet people up till now are still defending that shit, even though they believe in Christ. What the fuck is that? But you'll be gang stalked and all that. You got passive aggression, but if it gets opened, you'll believe in Christ to a point, and believe in God to a point, but you don't denounce that. And you see what I mean? And what else was I getting at after that? Yeah. Okay, so you had Jesus Christ. Everybody was all these people, Christians were later persecuted because, that industry was under threat. But then eventually, Rome was fell. You had Constantine and all that in the History Channel. Conquered Rome, conquer in my name, and then you get the Roman Catholics, and throw in the parentheses all the History Channel series, which I love, the barbarians that converted to Christianity. But you had all that shit going on before, which it later led up to, the Vivaldi and Beethoven days. Everybody was Catholic and all that, but try to keep that out. But anyway, society went from persecuting the Christians. Then you had later the barbarians that later were, if in the History Channel, the barbarians became Roman mercs, Roman mercenaries, but they did kill some of these ones that literally bled animals just for the hell of it, and they thought it brought them victory. Not even like everybody else. Weird, very bizarre type, and so they were later to they later ended up overthrowing Rome, and it's a bunch of stuff like there. So then later on, gradually from that, a bunch of shit in parentheses you read about. It went from people being persecuted because of Christian. You later had the Inquisitions where if you can not be Christian this way, you can be burned at the stake. But, okay, if you guys got this far in this video, you ever see the movie Elizabeth? Well, there's Elizabeth and Elizabeth the Golden Age. The opening of one of the movies, I think it was the first one, there was these people, they're being dragged away. No, we heard God's voice. But they were being dragged away to be burned at the stake and for believing God the wrong way. And it was showing that blood in a pot of water. They were shaving even the girls and women, the whole family, even girls crying, screaming, and women, and shaving their heads. And you see blood. They're just probably raking the razor over their heads. And seeing blood in the movie going in the pot, right? And they're like fucking... some reason they were ritualistically in the movie Elizabeth. They were shaving their heads and then going to burn them at the stake. So, but it was, seeing that movie, it was like what people started doing. Then later on, you started getting this age of enlightenment where I took a little clip from this movie, The Road to Armageddon, because I called it the dogma of materialism. There was this professor saying that, yeah, they had the Inquisition, then later had the age of enlightenment. They're trying to get out of. Get away from all that, being threatened with hell, the age of enlightenment. After Inquisitions and all that, they decided we're just a species. We don't want anything to do with being threatened with hell. And it's like, so they had this age of enlightenment. These Beethoven, Vivaldi days. Yeah, and I do my videos with all this other music. But yes, I was very into Vivaldi and all that stuff too. But this is a bunch of stuff I'm throwing together from memory before anybody gets this far in this video, go and correcting me. I'm trying to throw it all together in a nutshell. You know what I mean? But anyway, if you guys got this far in this video, there's a YouTube video called The Road to Armageddon, which you don't got to be religious fanatic if you're critical of a bunch of shit. Go look at it and you see what I mean, where some of the ideas have gotten from. Because I don't believe in being a total atheist, and I don't believe in anybody being Satanist. I don't believe in anybody being total Aleister Crowley. Anything that you want to, and you can be a certain religion to consciously object to something, but I don't care for any of these groups that are trying to rebel against one thing and they're using dogma for another. I mean, but I have issues with that don't fucking work, that fail. But my thing, I'm learning about observing some of this other shit that's I want to totally make a video about too. And down the evolution crowd, what are you going to do with that alone? Just keep, the only purpose of that is just to attack Christianity, and then the atheist crowd just to attack. Then I'm more like, I watched a YouTuber, the Armored Skeptic, which I almost want to call myself a version of Armored Skeptic, because I had some old video demos where I was using some of the religious music because of my medieval video game and medievalism exercise influences. And I got hell. I was catching hell and being bitched at for suggesting, because I used the word yoga, and you can do it something that's yoga-like. Oh, that's Catholic music. It's not that devilish yoga. I'm like, fuck. I don't know. I'm doing shit to piss a little bit of everybody off, and I have videos about the evolution thing, which I believe that I do it. I'm evolving, and so-called evolution people, they're just talking all their shit just to rebel against the religion. But anyway, like, what I was basically saying is, like, anybody, whether it's Zionism, Christianity, or whatever, I am not at all anti-Semitic. I like Jewish stuff. I do like some of it. But the things that got to go, whether you're a Christian, any kind of a Christian, the people that critic of my devilish yoga, I want to put that, I should put that before this video and after. Yoga thing, not instead of taking a knee, upward, it's a downward dog, upward turn nose. I don't care about, or I don't have to give a rat's ass for that. The old primitive variations of this shit where you had this holy of holies, you ought to have a rope tied in case the chief priest dies. Oh, it's some big work to actually, important work to go and bleed these animals. I do not at all. That's one thing I want to say earlier in this video before too. I never believed in 1 second, or not 1 fucking second, that even before Jesus Christ came, that you can possibly transfer your sins onto a fucking animal, and that blood is symbolic before Christ or whatever that didn't even come yet. Fucking bunch of nonsense. I think Jesus Christ came because he foreseen from the fall that all that shit was even going to happen. All that shit was going to happen. So I mean, it's nothing against Christianity. I believe, like, if you want to believe in certain points of Jesus Christ, to conscientiously object to things, or if you're Jewish and all that. But you can kiss my ass with that holy of holies bullshit, that sacrificial dogma. I believe that whether you, any religion, whether it's of Jesus Christ or anything, we were put here to graduate or evolve or transcend instead of the evolutionists talking about evolving. Yeah, we evolved to a point, but there's this word transcending, because I had a course in college that was a modern world religions that counted as a social science elective when I was in college for like things like video production. But the key word transcend, I think that you don't have to hate Jews, you don't have to hate this, but I believe we were here to transcend from that primitive shit where people were bleeding the animal. And the reason why that shit failed and people shouldn't be preaching it on a damn podium is because it was a failure. You know why? Because people actually will bleed an animal, whether it's on some altar, with a smile on their face, gladly, if they figure they could transfer them sins on some animal. It was a fucking failure in the beginning. You know what I mean? But it does not give you no license to hate Jews or blame Jews for stuff because they're Jewish at all. Not at all. Because like I said, there's other people in the world at the same era that were sacrificing animals, and Jesus Christ, any Christian of the day would be a persecuted Christian. They were all afraid their sacrificial industry was being threatened. But then, Rome eventually fell, and then all that stuff too. And it changed from Christians being persecuted. You had Catholics and Protestants and everybody. You were literally, if you were believing in God or Christ the wrong way, you were killed before you got the age of light. You know what I'm saying? People don't even need to see. I read the other things in Book of Enoch. If you had some of the people watching that don't like it, your vegans, your meat eaters, guess what? The Book of Enoch actually indicates that there was a place in the afterlife for cattle. But I know some people I know, and even family members, watch Jack Van Impe about animals in heaven, that Jack Van Impe thing. Well, geez, you got to wonder where Jack Van Impe was getting that shit. He was probably reading the books of Enoch, which before I had the internet I read, and even when I used to be in the Mormons a brief time. The minute I found the books of Jubilees and books of Enoch, I was telling these Mormon things, and they were running from me. And you want to say about gang stalking? If you were ever in Mormonism, if you have questions of certain things, I'll tell you a story about that too. But Oh, it was a good one. And it's not, license to hate everybody because they're a Mormon, but like a little bit of everywhere, you're going to be hated or passive aggressive if you have a little bit of questions about stuff. But anyway, a Book of Enoch is saying that there's a place for cattle and animals, and they won't see judgment, but they will accuse man. And any of you vegans that don't believe in religion, don't believe in Christianity, right? If you're the hippie vegan type, I think this is good news. We got a world where we got petting zoos now and things, and if you don't want to eat meat, that's good. I think that there's like a transition that there's before the fall. I'm saying that there could be a restoration without forcing any religion on anybody. Like that, when this world is all gone, people might even be riding horses, but the horse will be all like happy. Everybody friends, just like the cowboy. A cowboy, or the guy in an Eastern country that rides a camel. I mean, it's not inhumane to have a horse, for riding on. It's like, if you want to believe in the old legendary things where the cowboys loved their horses, just like a guy loved their dog, it was like your best friend, you know what I mean? Not a beast of burden. You couldn't be there. It was even in the Bible that there was some kind of chastisement that, what the hell is his name? Did he actually kick his donkey? They called it his ass. I mean, he heard a voice talking about that he was mistreating his donkey, but they use ass in the. That's a kind of funny thing too. I don't want to be like South Park, but they use the word ass in the Bible, and there's a point where in church you actually can say ass, but yeah. But anyway, like it seems to me, even some people, whether they eat meat or not, there's a thing where, if you want to be in another, after you die, there could be some other virtual reality, because after all, you lived once. I don't care if you're a fucking atheist or don't believe in anything. The fact that you were here once, now it can happen again. There was this other British philosopher I listened to on a radio station that it says your life, your breathing isn't the thing that you're doing, and even your thoughts, it's something that's happening to you. But that's a whole bunch of other stuff in another video. But that, yeah, you could have a paradise after everything's happy. Because, there was like a fall, okay, right in the fall, you could say every creature was predatory. And this is for a separate video, but I'm going to go ahead with it. That every single animal, after this fall, if you want to believe in that in the Bible, even for some of you people that are anti-meat eating, you figure every creature preyed on each other after that fall. And there is a thing where maybe in some afterlife, whatever you want to believe in, that things will be restored back the way it was. So even if you wanted to conscientiously don't eat meat, not say all humans could eat meat, you got all these things, these nature shows, these animals, lions eat. Man, it's cruel and fucked up. I mean, I was looking at Glenn Danzig on Jonesy's Jukebox. He was talking about how he was watching this nature show. These monkeys are grabbing these other monkeys from a tree and eating these monkeys, killing them, ripping them apart. And then because of Glenn Danzig, if you got this far, yeah, I was looking it up, those things about the monkeys, and you see a monkey, these monkeys, if they cast one monkey out of their community, they beat the hell out of them, rip them apart, and they'd eat them. And you see this monkey in this nature video on YouTube. This one monkey is dining on the carcass of this other monkey as if it was a fucking rotisserie chicken. Jesus Christ. But anyway, yeah, I believe to a point there was a fall, and every creature just, damn. I mean, it's fucked up. I mean, if you want to like assess all of that shit, you like to think there's an afterlife and then all that stuff is going to be away, I mean, if you float your boat. But it's like now we believe that there could be apocalypse out there, and if you want to think that, like the Van Damme movie Cyborg and like that movie The Road, people will fucking turn on each other. Yeah, they would in a heartbeat. I listen to Canadian Prepper and all that. He says things about cannibalism and all that. So I'm an apocalypse theorist and person without being a religious fanatic, but yet I'm a little foul-mouthed. I mean, I'm open to a lot of these things, and I think everybody in their other cultures aren't so open. Whether if you're a diehard atheist, diehard hippie, diehard marijuana person, diehard you. Oh, the other fuckers are just fuckers. You're fucking slaves.